Well, Coach, I want to kind of dig in a little bit and start with sort of a big picture question. One of the things you've talked a lot about this offseason when we've had a chance to meet with you in the past is, your job as an offensive coordinator is to take the talent that you have and make sure that the scheme and the philosophy and everything that you do fits to that. And I wanted to ask you, just sort of big picture, what does that look like when you get into the offseason, and especially in this particular offseason in which you are building around a lot of new faces in new places, meaning you did lose 4 starters in the offensive line, a 3-year quarterback, 2 starting receivers, that kind of thing. What does that process look like for you as you go through the offseason?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think it always starts with studying yourself and then pivoting to studying others and trying to dive deeper and saying, okay, we have X, Y, and Z, and we know this team has had that and utilizes them very well. All right, let's study what they're doing. Let's see if we can make a connection with somebody on staff so we're not just watching, but really understanding and hearing from them. This is why and how they teach it so that we can better maximize, our ability to then translate it to our guys. And then, some of it, Brian, some of it fits, some of it doesn't. Some of it says, yeah, we can, this is something that we do, or this is something very similar that we have, and it's an easy transition. Some of it might be, hey, this isn't quite for us. And then some of it's, hey, this is really good stuff. It might not be what we have right now, but this is how we can implement it. The exciting part, and you bring it up, is, hey, you lose so much. But when I sit here and I say, okay, these are where our strengths are. This is how we want to utilize them. How do we get more touches for Mike Mayer, right? That's an obvious one. Okay, so you look at, how other people are utilizing tight ends. But then you say, okay, we also have these 2 guys that we got to get involved. Oh, yeah, but we also have this guy and him. And so you start going down this path of how do we further broaden our offense and build things around guys that, we want to get involved. And it's not a short list, which is exciting for me. It's also hard, though, because at the end of the day, there's one football, right? And you got to find the balance, and you got to find really the ability to lay that all out and make it into a plan, not just random plays that are here and there, but really a plan that fits well together. And you bring up a good point, right? Like you talk about the offensive line, and a lot of times when people talk about the offense and how do you get more guys involved and how do you maximize ability and how do you maximize individuals, it's a lot of time focused on the skill players, right? Okay, well, I also have to protect the quarterback, and I also have to put our offensive line in a position to be successful. So what are some ways that we can do that? How can we change the launch point? How can we add maybe some run action protections that, simplify it for the line and allow us to get 6 or 7 guys in protection to allow us to really shore up the front. So all that stuff is constant. And then, you balance that with, look, we're on vacation right now, and I haven't, seen a lot of guys on our staff for a while. So a lot of it's, hey, we're calling or we're texting, or I'm doing it on my own, or they're doing things on their own. And then when we get back together, we're able to to meld it all into one.
Now, you mentioned, you look back at your time as a player, you had Michael Floyd, who was kind of that alpha type of guy. Tyler Eifert was that alpha type of guy. We've seen Will Fuller be that kind of guy. You look at your receiving core now, you sort of have that in a young Michael Mayer, but as you mentioned, you have a lot of weapons. What can be some of the advantages for you as a coordinator when you're going into planning your season and game planning, when maybe you don't necessarily have that Michael Floyd alpha, but you do have that more depth? You have running backs that can catch the ball. You have Avery Davis. You have young outside guys. What are some of the advantages to having it maybe a little bit more of a depth of a repertoire of pass catchers as opposed to that one guy that you have to on the perimeter more so that you have to make sure that guy is getting a ton of touches?
Yeah, I think the initial and the easiest answer is just the defense isn't as clued into one person, right? Like when you had Floyd or you had Chase or you had those guys that were really the guy, like they had ways to double him or help or try to take him away. Now, with great players, that's much easier said than done. And you can always move those guys out of their normal spot to keep defenses guessing. But I think when you look at, our ability to have, a group that can attack a defense, it's okay. Well, they can't really zero in on one guy yet, right? And if they do, we have ways to complement that. The other side of that is you're able to build, individuals in ways like, hey, if we have a big group of guys that can all play and help us, let's really hone in on maximizing the things that they do really well, right? Let's not ask them to do every single thing because we don't have to. Because the cool thing is we might have 4 guys that run 4 different types of routes at a really high level. And now we can play with that and allow them to be in those positions to do those things over and over. Instead of saying, okay, hey, Braden, you're just going to line up here and you're only going to run these 3 routes. No, we can move him around. We can figure out what he does really well, and we can maximize those things. And so, that adds a little bit to it where you're starting to now get into a world where you got to be able to build the offense in a way that makes sense, in a way that's easy to learn and comprehend. And that's something that I feel very strongly about, and one of our strengths as an offensive staff. But it's exciting. I mean, it's really exciting when you have that many guys. And the hardest part is just like tempering your mind down, because you have all these ideas and all these ways that you want to get guys involved. And that's okay. Well, you only get so many plays in a game. You only get so many plays in a practice week where you can rep them. So what really do we want to major in moving forward?